Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. This one for May the 24th, 2022. I'm Paul Lathrop, the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, my good friend Mike Piwowarski from the Rundown and Arms Room Radio. Mike, thanks for tagging along today, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, Paul. How are you doing today?
Doing good. I thought today started off, it looked like it was going to be a little bit of a light news day, and then things just blew up. We've got a lot of stuff we need to talk about today, man.
It's been that kind of day, right? We've had, like you said, a lot of little things, some big things, some industry things. It's going to be a challenge to stay 30 minutes and under.
We're not going to make it. It's going to be a Magnum episode. It's going to be a Magnum bullet today. So
there we go. Love it.
I want to keep it under an hour, but that's all I'm going to guarantee. Let's get started right away then. Word came down from the ATF, AFT, as our illustrious president likes to say. Word came down today that Frt Triggers are now machine guns. I got an email about 1 o'clock Central Time, and somebody said, "Hey, heads up! This is you might want to get confirmation on this, but this is what's going down." And I checked, and pretty much I got confirmation right from the ATF's Twitter. Speaking of Twitter, before we get too far in, let me. You can connect with us. You can get your comments on the air if you go to Facebook or to YouTube and comment directly on our live feed. Or starting now, they drug me straight into 2010, folks. They drug me back in. If you go to Twitter and you use the hashtag Bullet Podcast, you can get your comment on the air that way too. And that's actually faster than either Facebook or YouTube. So, anyway, you went to the ATF Twitter feed, and then there was the exact same thing that was sent to me. And yeah, it's true. The triggers, the ART triggers or FRT triggers are now considered machine guns. And Mike, you talked to some people. You want to let everybody know what you found out?
Yeah, let's give them a little bit of the background here first on this for those that just happen to be sitting in or joining us on day one here. The FRT trigger is a manual resetting trigger. What that means is it's much like a Geisley or that you see at a single pack trigger that you could drop in and only have to use the trigger pin and the hammer pin to install the whole trigger kit. Forced reset. What's forced reset mean? Forced reset means it has a very short reset. Those that have ever worked on Glocks or gotten a Glock a tuning kit know that means forced reset means that I have to let off the trigger less before it clicks and can re-engage. And that's while your slide moves back and forth on your semi-automatics or your bolt moves back and forth in your ARs. So it's the same basic concept as that. You still must apply pressure to each time you pull the trigger to make it go off. It's just a shorter reset. That's really all it is. And it forces that reset into a shorter gap, which is why it's called forced reset. So
it makes
very simple. It's
faster follow-ups.
Faster faster second shots. It is not a pull your finger down and it goes bang, bang, bang. You still have to, it's just instead of bringing your finger all the way out a full inch, it might be a quarter of inch, and those numbers might be off, but it's a shorter reset. FRT triggers came out just over about a year and a half ago. The ATF didn't like them. The ATF went to FRT triggers, and one of their owners is a firearms expert and attorney, and he told them basically ATF showed up with a cease and desist letter because they said they were not satisfied that this wasn't a machine gun. And he said, well, good, you go ahead and do your research. In the meantime, we'll continue to sell because the legislative branch makes laws, the judicial branch interprets, and you under the executive branch enforce. And I know how to read a law. I'm a lawyer. And I've had several other experts look at this, and they all agree this is a manual resetting trigger. It's not a machine gun. And ATF said, well, you can't tell us no. And their attorney, and this is a great guy, Kevin Maxwell, their attorney said, and one of the owners, he said, yeah, get bent, basically. He told the ATF. And they went to court.
Love the attitude.
And the judge at the first level of the court said, listen, I'm not really sure what's going on here. I'm kicking this one. So the ATF said, okay, well, here's your letter again to FRT Triggers. And they said, no, we're appealing that judge's ruling. And that's where they basically sit now. It's still in the courts. And in the meantime, because the ATF has said, you must cease and desist because we are trying to investigate to figure out what this is. They watched some video. They watched some video of somebody shooting it and it looked like it. It's like watching a video of Jerry Micklick shooting and saying, well, he must be shooting a machine gun. Okay. A machine gun is defined by, let me make sure I get this right. A machine gun is defined by
one
not the rate
trigger.
of fire. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, one pull. It's pull of the trigger. It's the pull of the trigger, not the pull of the trigger finger. Mm-hmm. Although ATF has tried to define it as that. It's a machine gun is defined as how it's not how fast a gun shoots. It's how the gun shoots fast. Is what it is. Okay, so they've made a way that you could shoot faster but still be manual. Just because it shoots faster doesn't make it a machine gun. It's how the gun shoots fast, not that the gun shoots fast. It's how and not when. So right. I'm trying not to be confusing, but it's basically saying calling Jerry Micklick a machine gun is what it would be. The guy's the fastest shot in the world, and this gun shoots about the same rate that he does. So the ATF's tired of waiting. Well, we're in court. We don't like that we're in court. So they came down with another letter that said, well, we have just redefined it. And you've got the letter there, Paul. You can read it off of there. We have decided that based on this definition, it is this. Well, the ATF doesn't get to do that. And this is the problem we've always had with the ATF. They didn't send this, Paul, to review. They didn't send this to the Federal Register for comments. They didn't do any of the ways that normally would be accepted. They didn't send this back to Congress. They didn't ask a judge to rule on this. The ATF has decided unilaterally that this is now a machine gun, and we're going to charge people with this. And I talked to the people from the owners from FRT Triggers today after this story came out. And you know what they told me? They said, go ahead to FRT Triggers. Let us know if you want one. They're still for sale. We're continuing. Don't care what the ATF says because the ATF does not make law. The ATF does not interpret law. The ATF only gets to enforce it. They don't get to redefine it. So they basically told ATF, how about one of these for you?
I do have it. I do have the open letter to all FFLs open in front of me, and despite your challenge, I'm not going to read it on the air simply because it is so filled with legalese. My tongue would be tied up in 3 different places.
Yep.
And I would be dead asleep by the time I got done with it. So,
the other thing I talked to them about today, Paul, because this says on there that in this letter that if you own one, you should contact the ATF to figure out a method to turn it in. Well, hey, listen, that's if you happen to own one, that's between you and your lawyer and the ATF. The Kevin Maxwell is the attorney for FRT, so he can't be your attorney for this. But it's funny. I know that if you talk to FRT and if the ATF talks to FRT and says, we'd like to see your list of clients, I know what they're going to get told. Yeah, we do everything in cash sales, and we don't take a named database of our credit card sales. Well, we need that. Well, all I could show you is the number of the cash amount that we took in.
Yeah,
they don't keep customer names. They don't keep customer names.
Here's a hammer. There's a big old pile of sand. We'll let your imagination
exactly right
figure out the rest.
This company is driving ATF nuts. This attorney, before he was even involved with FRT Triggers, was such a hindrance in the side of ATF that about every 6 months they keep making him a big cash offer to come work for them. They were tired of opposing him so much that they tried to hire him multiple times. And he finally went and opened his business to say, in nice terms, that, take a hike.
Yeah. Let me get a couple comments in here quick. John doesn't seem to like Twitter. I closed my Twitter account. The government should be forced to pick more internet sites. I think ATF might have a Facebook page. I don't know if they do or not. But they should be. There should be more than just Twitter for me to go look. Yes, I agree.
Yep.
I don't necessarily. I made my first tweet. I'm not kidding you. In probably 8 years today, when I started doing, I figured, I should really, in case the book of face decides to get squirrely, I really should expand my social media.
That's what I keep it for too. And you may remember we had this talk a long time ago. I used to do everything I could to try and find that line to get thrown off of Twitter. That was my mission and goal every day when I was tweeting. But then when President Trump got elected, they don't pay attention to me anymore. So I kind of stopped tweeting at that point.
Well,
it was lost comments.
They haven't kicked Vladimir Putin off Twitter yet, so they kicked Trump off, but Putin's still good. Anyway, I want to get this one up. Patrick Collins says opinions have no place in enforcement. Rules should not be made by the enforcers. Amen, Patrick.
Exactly right. Yeah, we've reinterpreted what this means. You don't get to do that. That is not what you get to do. That's not how any of this works.
It brings to mind that scene from Star Wars, where Leia has been captured. She's on the Death Star, and she's standing there by Vader, and now watches the full power of the Death Star is brought to bear. We had an agreement. I'm altering our agreement. Pray I don't alter it further. Yeah. That's what this seems like to me.
Yeah, exactly right. They are the evil giant, the Death Star.
All right, let's go on to our next topic, because our next topic is good news. My bosses over at the SAF paid for a survey, and they went to a reputable survey company in McLaughlin, and they had a survey commissioned for McLaughlin Associates to do, and it was conducted over, and I'm trying to find the exact dates here. It was the first couple of weeks of March. How it came back, it was a survey of 1,000 likely voters. And that's important, because if it's just 1,000 members of the general public, that doesn't mean so much. 1,000 registered voters means a little more. 1,000 likely voters, that's where you get your real data. But of the 1,000 likely voters that were polled, 66.1% of them, Democrats, Republicans, everybody, agreed with the statement, when you see what was going on with Vladimir Putin and Russia's military invasion of Ukraine, it is more important than ever for Americans to defend their Second Amendment constitutional freedoms and for law-abiding citizens to continue to have the right to own guns for their personal protection. That was the question, word for word. 25.7% disagreed. Guess what letter was behind their name most? And only 8.2% had no opinion. And that's fantastic news, especially coming into, we are 11 minus 3 is 8. We're 8 months away from the midterms.
Yeah, even less, right? It's end of the month now, yeah. So 6, 7.5, something like that. Can't happen soon enough, right? Can't happen soon enough. But that's wonderful news. That's like you said. These are likely voters, and folks, you got to watch these numbers. And Paul just clarified this for all of you. When you start to see polls come out like this, you get of people. They did 1,000 people surveyed. Well, first off, this isn't the Family Feud. We want people that are registered voters, right? So get 1,000 registered voters. That's okay. We know that only traditionally 25 to 35% of the population vote. So that really still doesn't help us much. But if you get likely voters, those are people that plan on voting unless something happens. There's going to have to be a car wreck. I got, somebody was in the hospital. It's got to be like that. Your likely voters are your 70, 80, 90% people of the time they're going to vote. So that's important numbers. Also, you got to look at the scope of where, right? If it's, 1,000 likely voters, from Washington D.C. Okay, right. We know that's going to be a little Democrat. You know, you want them spread out. So this is a good poll. This is a good poll. It's good numbers. That's why Paul's relaying it to everybody out here. What you don't want to hear, by the way, is 1,000 captive voters, because those are people in jail.
Yeah. Some more questions out of this poll, and I think I think these numbers are great. Question 4: do you approve or disapprove of the job Joe Biden is doing as president of the United States? Approve 41.3%. Disapprove 56.8%. Do you have a favorite?
This is a likely voter poll, and it's normal, folks. You got to. This is probably very close to 50-50 Democrat Republican, just like the nation's been since the 2000 election. We know we sit at 50-50 every year.
Do you have a favorable or unfavorable opinion of Nancy Pelosi? Favorable, 33%. Unfavorable, 59.4%. Now, I think if they were to poll our viewers / listeners, I think they'd get a 0.01% favorable.
That's right. That's only because somebody wasn't wearing their glasses and saw the wrong, filled out the form wrong on the 0.1%.
Yeah. Trying to get from the following list, which social networks do you use? YouTube is number 1 at 70.8%, Facebook 69.6%, Instagram at 40.5%. I've used Instagram. I'm signed up for it, but Pinterest 31.6%, Twitter 31.6%, TikTok 27.5%. LinkedIn 24, Snapchat 20.8. I honestly, Snapchat, I thought Snapchat was for kids to send nude pictures to each other. That's what I thought Snapchat was.
I think I'd have to check with my social media folks, but I know I have my own personal Facebook page, and then everything else out there is Arms Room Radio related. We've got a Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, and it's one of those deals where if anybody from the show posts something, it goes out to all of the different ones, and I don't even think I have any of those on my phone. I have to sit at a computer to take a look at them. I didn't even know you could do things on TikTok besides look at funny videos. I don't even have the TikTok. That's all I just see, though.
One more thing.
But I'm old. And
we were just talking about the political split in this poll. They asked, thinking about a political party, would you consider yourself a Republican, 36.0%, Democrat, 37.0%, Independent, 27.0%, and so that,
it's perfectly split.
Yeah,
perfect split.
So overall, great news that 66.1% of the likely voters in the country think that it's more important now than ever that we retain our Second Amendment rights.
What's that mean for you folks? What's that mean for us? That means every time these clowns like the ATF put out a letter like they did today for Frt Triggers, that means they go down even further because they're watching government overreach encroach upon Second Amendment rights. We know that FRT is one of those. It's almost like an insider baseball thing. If you just bought a firearm, you're shooting, you're getting new into it, you're doing self-defense, you may not have any idea what that is or what the bump stocks were or anything like that. But we're going to keep talking about it so you know that they keep overstepping their boundaries. They continue to come at it just like Hillary Clinton said when they said, how do you take down the Second Amendment? And she said, one bite at a time. It's like eating an elephant. This is what they're doing. This was another big bite today they took. And that's why we share that information with you, even if that trigger means nothing to you and you've never heard of it. It's more government overreach taking away your Second Amendment rights.
Yep, absolutely. And I think the way we go after this, and I think honestly there are lawsuits in progress right now for bump stocks, and I think when those bump stock lawsuits, I believe it's a when they get over the ruling gets overturned. Not a if it will. When it gets overturned, I think Frt Triggers is in the clear. Anyway.
Yeah.
Next story I want to get to, and for those of you who watch every day, God bless you and thank you. But I want to go back to Monday's show. Monday we showed video of a young lady getting up and testifying in front of the Arizona Senate. And I'm going to play that video here again in just a second, along with the video of the response of a senator. The reason I'm doing that is that same young lady is in, I think as we speak, is in front of the Senate committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee again. This time, there's a proposed law in Arizona that would, for first-time non-violent felons, when they're released from prison, they complete their probation or parole, whatever they have to do. When they've totally finished their sentence, they would automatically get all of their rights, including their gun rights, restored. And she's up there at front of the Senate speaking for this proposed law. I want to play this video again. I want to ask everybody, please, please, please send this lady your prayers. Anyway, here we go with this one.
Hello, Lauren Snyder, Second Vice Chair, Arizona Libertarian Party, Chairman and committee members. I am speaking in favor of House Bill 2316. I have had my concealed carry permit for the last 10 years. The reason that I got my concealed carry is because I've been a victim of sexual assault. I've been a victim of random assault. I've been a victim of domestic abuse. And I refuse to be a victim again. I don't carry because I want to harm others. I carry because I don't want to be harmed. My right to defend myself shouldn't change simply because of my physical location. The last time that I was assaulted, I was in a public space, not allowed to carry my weapon. I was stalked by somebody, and he attempted to abduct me and tried to drag me to his vehicle. So because I was respecting the law and was defenseless, mind you, I'm differently abled. I don't have the privilege of running away and calling the cops and waiting for them to come. I have to defend myself.
30 seconds.
And that, I yield the remainder of my time.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Members, any questions? Okay. Anybody else wishing to speak? I don't see anybody. Lots of if necessaries. Member, did you want to call up any of the if necessaries?
Mr. Chair, I've said it many times that I'm a gun owner, I'm a hunter, and I'm a proud Democrat. I don't need to carry my gun on me at all times to feel safe. I don't. I don't walk around, run around, and drive around worried about somebody's going to shoot me, or somebody's going to hurt me, or somebody's going to do whatever. Why even walk around at that point? Stay home, behind closed doors. I'm not going to worry. You can't be worrying about things all the time. I have enough to worry about being in these chambers. I mean, I hate to keep hearing about all this stuff. I mean, I understand that there's things that happen out in life. Man, you can sit there and stare at me all you want. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about things in general. And I do have daughters, and I do have a wife, and I do have a mother. There's a lot of things that happen in this world. But you can't run around scared all the time. I will say this. People will talk about how being safe, I don't feel that a room full of people, everyone with a gun, is going to make me feel safer. It's not going to make me feel safer, because people in this world are pretty crazy. They're pretty crazy out there. And you just don't know which one's losing their mind and which one's not. And some of them do come through these doors in these buildings. So, I mean, I do understand that, yeah, it is a right that we have. But some people just don't have that right. And some people just shouldn't have that right. And with that, I vote no.
All right. And then in that senator there is going to be, she's going to be speaking in front of that senator, and he's on that committee again today. So I was talking with Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio on the phone a couple times over the last few days. Believe it or not, this guy, he's not in Cheryl Todd's district where she lives. He is in the district that her business is in, not where she lives, though. He runs unopposed for the Arizona State Senate. I beg of you, if you live in that area, which is I want to say, I'll have it for you on tomorrow's show, but if you live west of the Phoenix International Airport in Arizona Senate District 19, and you are an independent, if you are a Republican, for the love of God, spend $150, $200, get into the election. I will plug the heck out of you. Cheryl Todd will plug the heck out of you. We'll get your name out there. Mike will plug the heck out of you. This guy needs to hit the unemployment line. I've got, and I don't have it loaded now. I've got video from this guy on Twitter saying he's got stepkids that probably should have been aborted. This guy is subhuman.
You know, since we're doing Star Wars quotes, Paul, I think it's appropriate to say that amazing. Absolutely everything he said was false. There was nothing there that he said that had any semblance of truth. Ma'am, you can sit there and stare at me all you want. I'm talking about everybody in general. No, you're not. All right, listen, you're talking about everybody that you think's inferior to you because you're some tough guy that evidently nobody's ever going to try and take down. You got a woman here standing in front of you, and I don't care if it's a woman, I don't care if it's a man, if it's a college kid or a 70-year-old dude. If they want to exercise their Second Amendment right to bear arms, then that's what they get to do, no matter what your Second Amendment, but I'm a hunter, I own a rifle attitude has to do with this. It has nothing to do with it. You take your rifle and you stay home. All right. Don't bother coming out. He tried to say that he's not afraid. Well, guess what? He's never felt the pain she's felt before. He's sitting up there telling us right away that she's a lesser person than he is, her life does not matter as much as his does. How many times do we hear this, Paul, that listen, I don't need to worry about carrying guns, blah, blah, blah. Yet they got a Senate security guard or Senate police officer on either side of them wearing a firearm. And he still says, my fear is that I come in here, this is one of my fear zones. Well, he's got them carrying guns, right next to him. You know why he's afraid? Because he says stupid crap like this. Somebody needs to beat this guy with a toaster, metaphorically.
Yes.
All right, let's say that metaphorically. They need to come up on onto the dais there and have a conversation with him. And I'm sorry we did not get to see her rebuttal, or that she did not get to rebut his comments. And I hope somebody else there on the panel talked him down, because he did nothing but insult every person that's ever wanted to defend themselves and been a victim of crime. Every crime victim in there should have been hurt by what he just said.
Especially any crime victim that is like this young lady has a muscular disease, but she can walk short distances, but she has to walk more than a few steps. She has to have a cane. But she still has enough control over her muscles. She can use a firearm. She's been trained to use a firearm. She's been through training. Just wow. I haven't said this on the air yet. I've played this a couple times, but this guy, I swear, if he could feel a lot better about it if he were to take down this regulation. I would bet you, for every crazy that were to come in there with a firearm, there'd be 10 good people with firearms concealed that came in. You would never know the 10 people in there, the good 10 people, good people coming in and sitting down, or maybe getting up and discussing things. You'd never know they were armed until the one crazy showed up. And then the 10 good people would make themselves known.
Exactly right. And And that's what it's all about, right? It's not that you take your firearm out looking for a fight, but if the fight comes to you, you're not going to cower down. You're going to defend yourself. You defend your family, defend those around you, and nobody's going to know about it. And that's concealed carriers. Listen, I know we've had a little bit of this discussion. If you're an open carrier and you're carrying that firearm on your hip, guess what? That guy probably doesn't even walk in. Okay, he looks inside and goes, "Uh-oh, I'm go down the street, find me a different place." This is
that, or he targets the open carry guy first. One of the two.
See, but that doesn't happen, and that's the discussion you and I have had, and I don't want to go back and forth on it. But all the stats, Paul, that we've shown and seen, there've been five times that an open carry person's been involved in a gunfight where they knew that there was a gun involved, as opposed to concealed carry, which we see happens daily. Tell me this: when the lion looks out and sees the porcupine or the sheep, which one does it attack? You know,
Sheep, well,
it goes for the weaker of the two.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are not out assassinating people to take their guns. They want the easy, quick crime. They don't go after the open carry person, and that's a different conversation. But
yeah,
and both of our opinions are matter. So let's say that.
I want to bring up something you and I can both agree on. You and I both spoke when Gun Rights Policy Conference was in Phoenix last time.
Yes.
It's been going on. It's 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
You and I both spoke at that. There were 1,100 attendees at Gun Rights Policy Conference. The vast majority of them were armed. And I don't know about you, Mike, but when I got up there and spoke, I felt more safe in front of that group of armed people speaking than I do almost any other time in my life. I felt a great deal of safety standing up there and talking to those people compared to any other time.
Safer than I would standing in the middle of a police station.
Yeah,
just to give you an idea. Citizen defenders all around me. That was good. Listen, this Arizona Senate District 19, Arizona Senate District 19. Paul, I know between you and I and Cheryl, we know a bunch of manufacturers out there. We know a bunch of people in the gun industry. We could find somebody to run against this, and we could get I'm going to make this clown famous. Make this clown famous with his comments. And you can bet your butt they'll be running on the rundown later this week, and definitely on Arms Room Radio later this weekend.
Thank you very much. And I will get you all the information you need about this clown. Anyway, we've got more good news that I want to talk about. This comes from our good friend John Petrolino. There is a bill in the New Jersey legislature. We'll see how far this goes, but there's a bill in the New Jersey legislature right now that would remove the reasonable need requirement from the concealed carry licensing scheme they got going there.
Okay.
My brain is starting to go into freeze mode, but the truck driver that beat Sweeney this past election is the legislator that introduced it. But anyway, that's in the legislature right now. I think it's not going anywhere real fast right now. We'll see what happens with the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case in front of the Supreme Court. We're looking at about 8 weeks from now. Somewhere 8 to 10 weeks from now, we should have a decision from the Supreme Court.
And a minimum before the first Monday. Sometime between now and the first Monday in October, we hope, right?
Yeah. Well, historically, it comes right around the end of May. If the decision comes the way I hope and believe it will, I think this legislation will move forward a lot faster. Because it'll happen.
Yes. Yeah, listen, I think I was talking with you. I know I was talking with Charlie Cook, I believe, about this from Riding Shotgun with Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey continues to get hammered by these gun laws. And we were talking specifically about concealed weapons permits. And I believe the topic was there was some company out there that had advertised they could guarantee getting your concealed weapons permit, and that was quickly just realized it was bad wording, and they corrected it. But this is New Jersey. I think that New Jersey and all these people, and I know there's 2 good gun organizations out there in the state of New Jersey, should just be bombarding. Yeah, just bombarding everybody in that state that can issue a firearm, whether it's the local police chief, a sheriff, a judge, the state. I think all day long they should be getting hit with thousands of applications, thousands of legitimate applications that show all the requirements have been met. And listen, if we bombard them, they're going to have to provide us with an answer. That's something under the law that has to happen. They have to get their answer. They have to get their answer within 30 days. If they bombard them with all of this stuff, that'll never happen. And then take them to court. Take them to court. They may not have to tell you why, but they sure do have to come up with that date. So take them to court. I think they should just have mass applications just sent out, thousands every day.
Yep. Brian Barnes, and I for some reason Facebook again is not, my software is not picking up the Facebook comments, but Brian Barnes commented it was Durr that won the election and introduced this legislation. Thank you, Brian.
Yes.
And Patrick Collins, when you said you toaster thing, Patrick Collins says toaster in a bathtub, which there you go. That would be even more effective. So
yep.
Let's see here. Now we go from
Patrick knows fashion though.
Yeah.
Patrick knows fashion. So if he's got a holster in a bathtub, he makes it look good.
All right. From good news to not so good news, and then we'll get back to good news in a bit, but not so good news. This one off of Bearing Arms. Cam Edwards wrote up, Governor Jay Inslee signed the mag ban into law officially in Washington State. Doesn't go into effect, I think, until the end of June, beginning of July. So if you're in Washington, you can still buy them until the law actually goes into effect. And I do believe it was, I'd have to go back and look into previous show notes, but there was a company, I want to say it was, goodness, my brain is absolutely not working. There was a company that was doing a promotion with the SAF where they were going to give $2 for every standard capacity AR mag sold.
Okay, all right. I can't remember who it is now. I recall the story.
They're in Iowa. They've been around forever. And if you drive on I-80, you go right past their main warehouse. And the name will not come out of my head, and I cannot make it get there. So, if by the time we get off the air, if it pops in, I'll let you know. I got 2 more stories, and we're already. I told you it was going to be a Magnum episode today,
right?
But 2 more stories I want to get to. The one that's kind of good news is Nebraska looks like it may actually go for constitutional or permitless carry.
Brownells.
Thank you.
Brownells.
Yes. Nebraska's legislature this week is working on budget things. Next week, it looks like is finally going to come down to is their final week of pass it or don't for the year. And it really looks like they're going to actually pass the permitless carry. There are a couple amendments. One of them would kind of carve out Omaha out of the thing. But we'll have to wait and see how that goes. I hope they don't carve Omaha out of it, but it's politics and Nebraska, which are never great. So,
that governor up in Washington State, Governor Inslee. I mean, they have tried for how long now, Paul, to just restrict more Second Amendment and take everything they possibly can away. And listen, they're the new San Francisco up there, right in western Seattle, and Tacoma's even lost its identity. It used to be a big military town down there, and a contractor town with Boeing, but now it's It's floundering. It's floundering hard. Listen, I know from watching this story and watching the law enforcement response and the chief executive response from the sheriffs in that state, that law, like most of these other unconstitutional firearms law, is not going to be enforced east of I-5, or up in the up north, near towns up close to the border up there, like as you get up into to God's country north of Seattle. So. It's just the Seattle and Tacoma area. That's all that get done. Maybe a little bit around Spokane. That's it. But that's the rest of it is all just pretend that we're going to pay attention to your illegal gun laws, Mr. Governor. Thank you very much.
It's really sad because Seattle is a very beautiful city, but it's turning into, like you said, with Chaz, Chop, whatever it is.
Yeah,
it's very much turning into the San Francisco where there's human feces on the street, and
it's horrible. Yeah.
It's people are starting to avoid Seattle the same way they are San Francisco. It's not a tourist area anymore. They're ruining it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, you get up there close to the border. What is it? Bellingham, Ferndale, and everything, and even Everett, and you get down a little bit further, Snohomish. Those are all still beautiful, but Seattle is. I mean, it's homeless camps, and you can't get to the Space Needle. It's surrounded by homeless camps. Their number one tourist attraction has been taken over by the homeless camps. Yeah.
Jeez. And I want it's not going to be long, and their professional sports teams aren't going to have a place to play because nobody can come see them.
Yeah. Yeah, down in the southern part of downtown there, right? Yeah, it's happened.
One more story I want to get to, and then I think we'll go ahead and shut because we're going on 12 minutes over. But there's a sheriff in Alabama that was fighting tooth and nail against constitutional carry.
Yeah,
and then they went ahead and passed it, and the governor signed it. Thank you, Governor Kay Ivey. But this sheriff went to his county commission, and this county sheriff went to his county commission and said, "Hey, we need this. My local sheriffs, my deputies, all three of them need this." And so he got the county commission to pass a county ordinance that you need a concealed carry permit in what county was this? Lee County. I have not yet found out if Alabama has preemption law. I think they do. If they do, then the county just did a whole bunch of work for nothing.
I did look this up, Paul. Alabama does have firearm preemption. It's very strict. There's only a few carved out exceptions. And just looking at them here while I'm with you, it's employers can prohibit employees from possessing during work hours. So that wouldn't apply. Political subdivision can enact a generally applicable zoning or business ordinance. So that's just inside businesses or business places. Political subdivisions can enact and enforce rules of operation for range owners in ranges, during competitions. Local ordinances that make the violation of a state firearm law a violation of an ordinance can be enacted and enforced, provided that the local ordinance may only differ from the state firearm law, nor may may not differ from the state firearm law. So they can't do that. Counties and municipalities can collect taxes, so they can't. So anything that they've done, they're spinning their wheels on. Paul, this takes us back to a conversation we've had many times called qualified immunity. This sheriff there is only covered under qualified immunity. If he goes before the county commission and asks for an unconstitutional law to be passed, he is not covered by qualified immunity because he has committed a crime or an unconstitutional act, and he should be held accountable. And I would hope the local district attorney or the state's attorney general would go after him for that violation.
One would hope.
Yep.
I do not know if I'm going through this county, but I am going to be traveling through Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana in May between the Mingle and NRA because I'm going from Atlanta to Houston. So I'm going to try hard not to be a test case, though. So
yeah, you may want to look up Lee County and drive the extra miles around it. Yeah,
exactly. All right, well, we're about 15 minutes over, so here's your Magnum episode. But tell us what's going on with the rundown, and tell us what's going on with Arms Room Radio, man.
Oh, great stuff we're doing on the rundown. We try to bring you news every day, some weird and wacky. We had some great Disney news that or some really bizarre Disney news that came out today, and then some other news out of Southern California. I don't know if you saw the story with the daycare center pre-K that had the kids chanting "Let's go, Brandon." So what a great story that was.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I kind of imagine them saying stuff like the "West go, Brandon." Maybe not quite perfect. But the intent was there. So Arms Room Radio, listen to Flagship. We'll be on Saturday 3 to 5. We'll be having some incredible guests, incredible stories like we always do in our 7th year now. And love every one of our listeners and can't believe that they're listening to us at all. So because we just do, we just try to be entertaining and informative in the Second Amendment world.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and shut this down. Mike, again, thank you so much for dropping by, and thanks for spending extra time with us today, man.
Anytime, Paul.
All right, folks, I do encourage you, come join us tomorrow, 5 p.m. Central Time, when Alex Ooley will be joining us again for his Friday segment. And until then, everybody, have a great day. We will see you tomorrow.